What if a camera in a remote wilderness captured something so strange it shook the world? Usually these cameras document wildlife like deer, foxes, or bears. But what if one recorded something entirely unexpected? In this untouched forest, where nature thrives in its purest form, something eerie was lurking just out of sight. When the footage was reviewed, the discovery shocked not just the team, but the entire world. Stick around, what was captured here is beyond belief. Alex Lang, a dedicated conservationist, was working deep in a remote forest, far from the distractions of the modern world. His task was to analyze hours of wildlife footage captured by trail cameras. At first, the scenes were familiar: bears searching for food, owls soaring silently through the trees, and foxes moving quickly through the underbrush. However, this project felt different. The forest seemed to hold something more, something Alex couldn't quite grasp. While the footage seemed routine, he couldn't shake the feeling that there were secrets hidden just beyond the lens. Alex had hoped to discover something extraordinary, perhaps a rare species or a nearly extinct creature. But as the days passed and he sifted through endless hours of footage, a sense of disappointment began to settle in. Maybe this forest really is as empty as it appears, he thought, as his excitement started to fade. That is until something unexpected happened. The routine was suddenly broken. What Alex saw next would not only change his perspective but would also leave him, and everyone who saw it, utterly stunned. The camera's motion sensors detected something unusual in the frame. A figure appeared from the left side of the screen. At first, Alex couldn't believe his eyes. It was a woman. He froze, feeling his heart race as he watched the strange figure move through the screen. She emerged from the dense thicket, her pale hair stark against the dark backdrop of the forest. Her outfit seemed completely out of place, almost like a black leotard or swimsuit, an odd choice for the middle of a forest. Her arms hung limp by her sides, and her head was tilted slightly downward, as though she were moving on autopilot. She didn't look at the camera, she simply walked on. The scene reminded Alex of something straight out of a horror movie. He leaned closer to the monitor. There was no trail in that area, no reason for anyone to be there. In all the time they'd been conducting research, he could count on one hand the number of people they'd encountered, and none of them had looked as ill-prepared for a walk through an isolated forest as this woman. The woman continued walking into the frame, then paused. She turned her head slightly, as though she'd heard something behind her, but the camera captured nothing, just the empty, silent forest. After a moment, she resumed walking, disappearing into the shadows at the far side of the frame. As the video ended, Alex couldn't shake the sense that he had witnessed something he wasn't meant to see. Alex knew the forest well, and there were no roads or paths leading to this part. The camera wasn't malfunctioning, yet what he saw didn't align with anything he knew about the area. The woman's strange appearance, the way she moved, and how she seemed to materialize out of nowhere. Nothing made sense. Still, Alex tried to remain logical. Maybe she was a lost hiker, although her outfit made that unlikely. But no matter how hard he tried to reason, he couldn't ignore the unease building in his stomach or the goosebumps rising on his arms every time he replayed the footage. This was beyond what he could handle on his own. He knew someone else needed to see it, but the question remained, what exactly was it? Alex shared the footage with his boss, and within hours it was everywhere. This mysterious video had never garnered so much attention before. People couldn't explain what they were seeing, but they couldn't stop talking about it. Was it a ghost? A hoax? Or something far darker? Something the forest had kept hidden for centuries? Theories exploded online. The video was quickly shared across social media platforms, and the internet buzzed with wild ideas. Some believed it was an elaborate art piece, created to provoke fear and curiosity. Others suggested something far more unsettling. Could the woman be linked to the forest's cryptid legends? Some speculated she was a forest spirit, or one of the many cryptids said to inhabit the world's most remote corners. The more people discussed it, the more questions arose. Who was she? How did she end up in the forest dressed so strangely and moving in a way that felt almost inhuman? As the video spread, theories about paranormal activity began to flourish. Could this woman be tied to something supernatural, like the strange phenomena reported in places such as Hoya Baciu Forest, known for UFO sightings and ghostly apparitions? The forest, it seemed, was no longer just a backdrop for wildlife, it had become a character in the story itself. And as more theories emerged, the truth seemed to slip further and further away. Was she a ghost from another time? A cryptid that had remained hidden for centuries? Or was this simply an inexplicable, bizarre event? As the footage went viral, it was clear that no theory could fully explain the chilling mystery of the woman in the woods. The video had ignited a firestorm, drawing in thousands of viewers, all eager to uncover the truth. As it spread across the globe, the world began asking one question: what was that woman doing in the woods? What do you think? Do you have any theories about the strange figure captured on camera? Is it a ghost, a cryptid, or something even darker? Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? The mystery surrounding the woman in the woods took a startling and emotional turn when a man stepped forward, trembling with emotion, to reveal a truth no one could have expected. His name was Carl Reynolds, and the woman in the footage was his sister, Emily Reynolds. Carl's voice quivered as he spoke to the media, tears filling his eyes. "It's her. It's Emily." Those words seemed to shift the entire narrative, turning the mystery from something unexplained into something deeply personal. "My sister has been missing for 4 years," he continued. "We've never stopped looking for her. I never gave up hope, but I never imagined something like this." Carl explained that Emily had disappeared without a trace during a solo road trip. Her car was found abandoned about 20 miles from the forest, with no signs of struggle, no footprints, and no clue as to where she had gone. The case had gone cold, leaving Carl and his family with nothing but questions and the haunting absence of Emily in their lives. The weight of Carl's revelation was overwhelming. The shock wasn't just from the footage itself, but from the realization that the woman walking through the forest, this eerie, mysterious figure, was once a part of a family. Emily, who had vanished without a trace, was now the very person at the center of a mystery that had remained unsolved for years. How had Emily ended up in the forest? How had she survived alone in such a remote and unforgiving environment? Her abandoned car was all that was found, and no trace of her had ever been discovered. The questions that Carl had for so long now loomed larger than ever. The footage had answered some questions, but it only raised more. The shocking discovery that Emily was alive didn't resolve the mystery, it deepened it. How had she ended up there? And was this just the beginning of a story no one was ready for? With Emily now identified, the search for her intensified. Authorities were more determined than ever to find her. The world had been rocked by this shocking discovery, and the search became not just a rescue mission, but a race to solve a riddle that had haunted the Reynolds family for years. Yet, despite the mounting efforts and the global attention the case received, the forest seemed to hold on to its secrets. Search teams flooded the area. Helicopters soared above, drones scanned every clearing, and boots pounded the forest floor, searching for any clue that might lead them to Emily. They combed through the wilderness surrounding the spot where her car had been abandoned, retracing every possible step she could have taken. But despite all this, the forest remained silent, no footprints, no campsites, no belongings. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air once again. As the search continued, questions piled up, and with each passing day, the uncertainty grew. Emily had been missing for 4 years, and now, as the search area was meticulously combed, the mystery of how she had survived in the woods deepened. Her disappearance had confounded authorities and her family for years, and now, even with all the resources at their disposal, no trace of her could be found. It was as though she had materialized from nowhere. Rumors and wild theories began to spread. Some suggested Emily hadn't been lost at all, but perhaps kept captive by someone or something, hidden deep in the forest. Could there have been a secret shelter where she was held? Others speculated that Emily had intentionally disappeared. Was she running from something? From her past? Had she chosen to live in isolation, far from the life she once knew? But some of the more daring theories delved into the realm of the supernatural. Could Emily have encountered something otherworldly during her time in the woods? Or had she stumbled upon one of the cryptids said to lurk in the world's most remote forests, creatures that remain hidden in plain sight? The mystery of Emily's disappearance was far from over, and the forest remained vast, one that held answers no one had yet uncovered. Alex couldn't shake the image of Emily's face. The stillness of the footage lingered in his mind, her pale figure moving through the dense forest like something from a nightmare. How had she survived in those unforgiving woods for so long? Alex knew he had to find out. Determined, he couldn't wait for the authorities to piece together the answers. He had to retrace her steps himself and follow the trail left behind by Emily in the forest. Every frame of the footage played repeatedly in his mind as he searched for any clue that could lead him to her. Then, one day, something clicked. A familiar landmark from the video, a hidden clearing, an overgrown path, stood out to him. Armed with nothing but the footage and his instincts, Alex plunged into the woods. Days passed as he pushed through the thick underbrush, his body sore and his mind racing. The journey was grueling, but the memory of Emily kept him moving forward. Then, deep in the heart of the forest, Alex stumbled upon something that had evaded every search before, an old shack tucked away among the trees. His heart raced as he approached it. How had this place remained hidden for so long? How had no one else discovered it? Inside, the air was thick with dust and stale air. And there, in the corner of the shack, was Emily. For a moment, Alex stood frozen in the doorway, unsure if what he was seeing was real. Her face was gaunt, her eyes clouded with fear and confusion. She had endured so much physically and emotionally. What do you think? How did Emily survive for so long in the woods? Was it sheer instinct, or was there something more at play? Share your theories in the comments below, and let's continue to unravel this mystery together. Emily's body was frail, her skin, once vibrant, now clinging to her bones. Her eyes, which had once sparkled with life, now seemed distant and hollow. The moment Alex found her in that shack, he could immediately see the toll the harsh wilderness had taken on her. She looked like a shadow of the person she used to be. But despite her physical state, it wasn't just her body that concerned the doctors, it was her mind. Her mental recovery would be far more complicated than her physical healing. Doctors warned that she would need time to heal, time to remember. But the hardest question remained, would she ever remember? And if she did, would she be able to handle it? As Emily regained some strength, she often sat in silence for hours, staring into space as if lost in a world of her own. Her memory was fragmented, flashes of clarity would come and go, but they were always incomplete, half-formed images, faces, and places that didn't seem to make sense. She recalled pieces of her time in the forest, wandering alone, fighting to survive, constantly moving from one place to another in search of something she couldn't quite explain. The days had blurred together in a haze of confusion and isolation. Alex watched her struggle, the pain in her eyes as she tried to piece together the years she had spent lost in the wilderness. Each attempt to recall her experiences seemed to tear at her more. What had kept her alive all these years? Was it merely her will to survive, the raw instincts that pushed her through the harshest of conditions, or was there something more at play, something beyond human endurance? The mystery of how Emily had survived, and the strange circumstances that kept her hidden in the woods, only grew deeper. Was it simply the power of survival instincts, or had something more supernatural been at work, guiding her actions in ways no one could understand? When Carl saw his sister again, the emotions hit him all at once. After years of searching, wondering whether she was alive or dead, he was finally standing in front of her. But the woman he saw before him wasn't the sister he remembered. There she was, his sister Emily alive, but changed. Her body was thinner, and her eyes carried the weight of confusion, the result of years spent wandering the unforgiving wilderness. Carl's heart swelled with love and relief, but there was also a deep sadness. Her face was still familiar, but the person she had once been felt like a distant memory. It was as if he was looking at a stranger, one wearing the mask of the sister he had loved so dearly. Despite the trauma, the confusion, and the years of silence, there was still a flicker of hope. Carl had desperately longed for a smile. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there. For the first time in years, Emily smiled. It was fleeting, a glimmer of the woman he had been searching for. For Carl, it was everything, a sign that, despite all that had happened, Emily was still there, deep down. The reunion was bittersweet. Carl had spent countless years grieving, imagining the worst. To see his sister alive was nothing short of a miracle, but the person standing before him was no longer the same. The road to healing would be long, and the future uncertain. For Carl, the focus had shifted. It wasn't about solving the mystery of how she survived in the forest or uncovering the secrets hidden within it. No, the only thing that mattered now was helping Emily heal. It didn't matter if the answers stayed buried in the woods or if the truth could never be fully understood. All Carl cared about was getting Emily back on her feet, helping her rediscover who she was, and giving her a chance to live once more, free from the shadows that had haunted her for so long. Alex couldn't stop thinking about the forest. After everything he had witnessed, the strange footage, the search, and Emily's miraculous recovery, his mind kept returning to the woods. The mysterious woman captured on the camera, the eerie moments that led to her discovery, and the question that still haunted him: how had the camera recorded her image at that exact moment she appeared in the frame? It almost felt as though fate had guided the camera to capture that precise moment. Was it just a stroke of luck, or was there something deeper at play? The forest had always been good at hiding its secrets, but this time it seemed those secrets were ready to be exposed. What were the odds of such an occurrence? Alex couldn't help but wonder. Was it merely a bizarre coincidence, or was there a force within the woods that wanted to be discovered? Something hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to finally notice. As Alex pondered this, a thought began to form. Perhaps the forest itself had more to reveal. Maybe there were other forces at work, hidden just beyond the trees and shadows. Perhaps more secrets were buried deep within its depths, waiting to be unearthed. The camera had captured Emily's image at the exact moment it was meant to. But what if this was only the beginning? Maybe the forest wasn't just a silent backdrop to an unusual event. Perhaps it had its own story to tell, a story that had been waiting for someone to uncover it. A story linked to things unseen, things beyond human understanding. As Alex stood on the edge of the forest, looking out into the vast wilderness, he couldn't shake the feeling that the woods were holding their breath, waiting for the next curious soul to wander in and uncover its mysteries. The more Alex reflected, the clearer it became. The answers they had found, about Emily, about the woman in the footage, might never be the complete story. The forest was ancient, far older than any of them, and it had witnessed more than anyone could imagine. The question remained unresolved: what else does the forest know? As we close this chapter of Emily's mysterious disappearance, the questions that have surfaced are far from over. While Emily's journey back from the woods has provided some answers, the forest itself remains an enigma, holding secrets that might never be fully uncovered. Was her survival simply a result of sheer willpower, or was there something deeper, something darker at work in the heart of those woods? What do you think? What's your theory about Emily's disappearance? Do you believe the forest hides more secrets than we'll ever know? Could there be forces we can't even begin to understand, waiting to reveal themselves when the time is right? Or was it just a bizarre sequence of coincidences? If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. Comment below about the next country you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.